Thank you.
Okay, we have the motion then to approve the agenda with amending it to strike item B. Is that correct then? So we've got the motion, we got a second on it, and the part of the discussion was to strike item B. So I guess then we will, at this point, vote on striking item B. Okay, all those in favor of strike, unless there's discussion, striking item B, then is that good for everyone there? So the first thing then we'll vote on is striking item B. All those in favor of doing that, say aye.
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 Okay, all those opposed, say nay. Okay, we got no naysayers, so item B will be struck from the agenda. So now we'll move to the main motion of approving the agenda. All those in favor of approving the agenda, say aye.
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 Okay. Opposed, say nay. Okay, we got ayes again, got it. So we got an agenda, and then we'll move on to item 3, public comments, 2 minutes per participant. Do we have any public comments? Okay, I hear none. So we'll move on to item 4, meeting the mission of the charter. And under that, item A, bylaws review and recommendations. And then under that, we've got a sublease, and item the second item is board member nominations. So with that, then we'll move back up then to discussion of the sublease, I guess would be the first item.
Okay, so I will share out about that. So we had a meeting last week with Daryl Vincek, and Laura Hilger was there, and Amy Robinson, and Dane, and I cannot remember his last name. I just know his first name's Dane. Dave Whiting was supposed to be there, but he was unable to make it at the last minute. So we discussed the tax break that J&L Properties should be getting, and questioned whether or not we were getting that same break. And Dane assured us that we were, that was all built into the funding formula for our lease. So then I followed up with Andy Ratliff, who is the Office of OMB manager or director, and just to verify that and to make sure that it was worked into our sublease. And what the answer that I got from him was that that J&L Properties rents to the Anchorage School District, and then we sublease from them. And so we aren't considered, what's the word I'm looking for? We aren't considered under that tax break. So that actually is not written into our lease. So it's because it's a sublease, then we don't apply for that, or we're not approved for that. Okay, it doesn't apply to us. So that was the main issue for the sublease. And then I did find out that because we didn't have our sublease signed last year, our memorandum of agreement with the ACT program was basically null. And so we let them be in our space last year without any rent break. So they didn't pay for any square footage for the school year that they were there. I asked if we could recoup those funds, and I don't know if it's mostly because of the situation the district is in right now financially, or if it would have been the same answer either way, but it's basically we can't recoup those funds. So we built some human capital. We've strengthened some relationships, and it didn't cost us too much. We just didn't financially gain from that. They'll be there this coming year, and we've got that room reserved for them. And I would love to get the sublease signed and will approve by the board and signed by Alex so that we can get that memorandum of agreement with the ACT program as soon as possible.
So when should we do that?
Well, the reason that it's on the agenda tonight instead of September is because I think it was Amy Robinson who suggested in the meeting that we put this on the agenda tonight so that we can open it up to discussion for the sublease and then put it out to vote on tonight.
Mhm.
If we're prepared to do that, if we feel ready to do that. But Amy and Kevin Masterson, who was on the board last year, looked at it pretty thoroughly. Both of them worked on that last year. And the only thing that came up as a red flag or a question was that tax break.
Right.
So is
Seeing
there any
how
reason?
it wasn't, oh, sorry, John, go.
Okay, so is there any, so it doesn't sound like there's any recommendations for a change on the sublease
Right.
wording as it was from a year ago. So are we ready to act on it then, or do you have some other inputs you want to share?
My
He asked
recommendation
him
is
for a break.
move on it.
That was about it. And he kind of kindly, he didn't laugh, but he was laughing. Let's put it that way.
Well, and I will say that we, I did ask him, frankly, if they had reached out to J&L Properties to get some sort of a break on their lease, just in terms of, because of the pandemic, right? So if ASD is going to get a break on rent, then we should as well. And so when he said, no, we haven't considered that, we haven't done that, I said, well, can Highland do that? And I didn't think that we could, but I thought I'd ask, could we go to J&L Properties? But because we are subleasing, it would have to come from ASD. So then I asked him what it might take to make that happen. And he said, well, frankly, we haven't thought about that. And we're putting out bigger fires right now. So I would hope that that it would fall down to us as well if they did get a rent reduction.
Yes.
Okay.
He said he
So-
would put it on his list to ask.
Yes, he did.
So
But
we,
not on
then
the
we
top.
can revisit that later then, if I'm hearing you
Sure.
right. Okay.
Yeah, that doesn't impact the current paperwork. I just wanted everyone to know that that was another piece of the conversation.
Okay.
Thanks for that, Laura. So it would be my recommendation that if everybody's had a chance to review that, that we vote on that tonight. And if you haven't had a chance to review it, we can wait until September. Or if you feel like you need more time to review it.
I personally think it's fine to go. Do we have a motion?
I make a motion that we vote to approve the sublease.
Okay. Brenda's made
Second the
a
motion.
And John seconded. Any further discussion? Okay, with none, then we'll, all those in favor of approving the sublease agreement as stated with the potential changes, say aye.
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 All those opposed, say nay. There were no naysayers here either, so it looks like we have a sublease. And then, Amy, I can come by and sign whenever you are ready for it. Okay, so now we will move to item number 2, the second item, board member nominations.
Yeah, so we have 3 parents and 1 teacher who are interested in joining the board. Jim is here, and I told him that if he couldn't be here that I could give him a little introduction. But what I'd like to do is give him a chance to introduce himself and sort of just fill in the blanks. And I'm not sure if you have that nomination form in front of you to see the questions, but if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself, that'd be great.
Okay, and I apologize. I actually do not have that nomination form in front of me. I came ill prepared, but so just a bit of background about me. Actually, and I want to say hi to Laura again because I met Laura. Laura and I went through the teaching program together at UAF many years ago. And I don't think I've actually even seen her since then. So it's been a long time since I've seen Laura, but I've known her for a long time. And Rebecca Middles, she and I taught together in Anderson many years ago. So I'm good friends with Rebecca that many of you probably know. So my background, I've been involved in standards-based education for a long time. I started in Denali Borough School District. And we moved from the Carnegie-based system to standards-based. That was a very interesting process, but it was a great way to teach, and I really loved the model. And then after 11 years with Denali, I moved out to Bristol Bay Borough School District, and I was a principal there in Naknek for about 5 years, and then switched over to Lake and Penn School District, and this is year 6 with Lake and Penn. My first year, I was doing federal programs, then a couple of years as technology director, and then back to principal again. So I'm an itinerant principal. I live here in Anchorage, but I'm an itinerant principal, and my schools are Igiagig, and then Chignik Bay, Chignik Lake, and Chignik Lagoon. So about once a month, well, under normal circumstances, about once a month, I would travel out to visit my sites, do site visits. But with COVID now, I'm not sure when I'll get to go out to the villages again. But so mostly work from home. Sometimes I travel a little bit, but I'm very familiar. And Lake and Penn is all standards based too. All of our schools are standards based, performance based. So very familiar with the model. We actually used to use Educate, which is now turned into Empower. It looked very different, I think, back when Lake and Penn used to use it. But we've made the switch since then to Power School. But anyway, I know some of the folks that have started the program. I went and visited Highland many years ago, back when Laura and Rebecca were still there together. But it's been a long time. My kids are in the school this year, and I'm very excited about that. It was a bit of a rough transition from King Salmon to Anchorage for my kids, and we put in for the lottery for Highland, and we were very fortunate to be able to be selected in that process. So very excited to have them at the school this year, and I'd love to be part of the board. A bit of my board experience. When I was in King Salmon, I was on the local health advisory board, the Chimay Clinic. So I served on that board for a couple of years. So I have some experience with working at the board level and understand the difference between governance and management and how those two are very different things. So anyway, that's a bit about me, and I'd be happy to entertain any questions if folks had any.
Are there any questions?
I was just curious what you said you had. I think you said 2 students this year at Highland, and what
Yes.
grades?
So Kieran and Aiden. Kieran is grade 8 and Aiden is grade 10.
Okay, any other questions?
Jim, I would be, it's so good to see you, by the way.
Good to see you too.
I'd be curious to know what would be like an area or an interest of yours regarding board work in Highland.
Well, I feel like my expertise, well, one area where I feel pretty strong would be like technology in general. Ever since I started in education, I've always been kind of the tech guy in the building, and then I was tech director for a while. So anything pertaining to that, I feel is a strength of mine. Yeah, thanks. Sorry, I get peanut gallery in the side over here. Lose my train of thought. Sorry. And I have just a rich background with standards-based education. I'm happy to, be as involved as I could be in any capacity. Sorry, it's not a very good answer. I'm sorry, Laura. There's a lot of, if I was to be chosen to be on the board, obviously there's a lot of, I have to get to speed quite a bit on some things, listening to your conversation about the sublease and so on. I don't really know the background to that. So obviously there's a lot of legwork to do to catch up on things, but definitely interested.
Okay, do you have any other questions? Okay, well, thanks very much. We greatly appreciate it. Sound like you have definitely got a wide background in education and especially understanding a lot about the rural school districts out there.
Very useful skill set.
Oh, yeah, definitely there.
All right. Well, so I'm really new to this process. So I was thinking what we would do at this point is say thank you to Jim for coming. And then I'm thinking that we need to maybe go off of YouTube Live, and then I can share information about the other nominees, potential nominees. Does that sound good? Okay. All right. So we are